Good evening, good morrow, and good day, and welcome to another campaign diary and Q&A here on Slice and Dice, talking all about everything that happened in sessions 36 through to 38 of the Manylands campaign, but I'm also going to be touching on what we've got coming up tomorrow here on the channel with the Tales of the Sword Coast, and talking about other stuff that's going to be happening in the future with regards to the Tales of the Sword Coast, and what we've been doing in the time off, because it's been a little while since I've got to do one of these. So I'll rattle through this as succinctly as possible. So the main thrust, let's get bang on to topic with the Manylands. So 36 through 38 has really been, the main focus has been all about getting the rest of the party reunited with Nerys and saving her from the red mages who have taken her hostage. But there's been a lot more there's been a lot more going on in the background besides that, although that's been the primary concern of the players. And I kind of feel like this is a good platform to talk more about those extra things. But just to wrap up with the main thrust. So essentially the party were looking to rescue Nerys, but Nerys, being a strong-willed, although young, very strong-willed and powerful sorcerer that she is, has essentially saved herself with an opening by the red mages coming in to take her for some more torture, or to extract more of her blood, which apparently her blood is very important for something the red mages are working on, and she managed to garner that it's something connected with bringing back the dragons. Apparently her blood is involved with that. So obviously big scary stuff. Anyway, she managed to free herself using the opportunity, but after, of course, being deceived and being tricked into killing her aunt, which has obviously had some effect on her anyway. Although they didn't know each other very well, the fact that an innocent has died at her own hand is, I think, something that will affect the character deeply in future sessions. We'll see how that pans out. But as for other stuff that's been going on in the background, of course, so the red mages are carrying out their devious plan. In session 38, finally, we kind of got some clarification that there's a connection here with something that's been going on since the very beginning. Yes, I've had this planned out from the start, because in the very first session, at the very beginning, Seth was on a prison caravan, and one of the prisoners alongside him was a grave robber called Royston the Bag, the halfling who wears a top hat, and he's just found Royston imprisoned by the red mages in one of the cells here in Korak, where the party currently are, which draws the connection because Seth, last he saw Royston, he was abducted by this sort of earth elemental or large sort of rock golem of whatever it was. This very large creature abducted the halfling. So the fact that he's now found him in one of the red mage cells, kind of two and two together, the red mages were behind that hit on the caravan. And it turns out that actually the reason they were tracking down Royston the Bag is because he found, one of the fingers. Apparently a finger is, the fingers are bone, there's more than one, I've given that away now, are bone daggers or bone short swords that were obviously quite old and have been lost over the years, and it seems the red mages need those as well for their nefarious plans of bringing back the dragons. So as was alluded to a lot, and the party weren't to know much about it, but I think some of the players, including DK, definitely got a whiff that there was something afoot when I kept mentioning at Flaming Jacks. I kept drawing their attention to the fact that there was this bone dagger mounted behind the bar, and I highlighted that on a number of occasions. And finally, it's you kind of saw the head-slapping moment by DK and others as they realised, oh, they're after this back at the pub with Jackman Winklebottom, of the proprietor of Flaming Jacks. Oh God, we're gonna have to go back there because that was important. It's like, well, yeah, it was. And in fairness to the players and to the characters, I mean, they weren't to know its importance at the time, but it's just nice that we kind of had those little hooks there, and suddenly the dots are being joined together. It's quite nice to see that all come together. It's kind of rewarding in that respect. But also another thing that's going to be leading the party back there, because I imagine once they get out of this situation, if they get out of this situation in this showdown in Korak, because, well, things are looking a little bit dicey, and I think come next week it's going to look even more ropey for the party, because there's some powerful enemies they're up against there, particularly Damon, the leader of the Red Mages there, and somebody who's been hunting Neris for many years. He's a very powerful sorcerer, so they're going to it's going to be a challenge, to say the least, for the party to overcome this, and we might see some character death next week. We might. Obviously I'll do everything in... Well, I'll be as true to the NPCs and make sure that as I can be, and make sure that the players are not being taken for granted and whatever, but getting the balance right. So I hope they don't die, but it's very much a possibility, depending on how things go next time, and depending on how the dice roll, of course, as well. Seth is already knocked unconscious and kind of out of the fight for now, so unless Malar can pick him up quickly, things are going to go very badly very quickly for him as well. So we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, there's going to be other things that will be leading the party back to... James says, I was going to steal that dagger when we went back because I still remembered. Oh, thank you, James. Good to know. Good to know what Seth's planning to do. That's if Seth survives that long. We shall see. So that's one reason. Actually, speaking of Seth, so that's one reason to go back to the inn, is to get that bone dagger. Glad I have a good reason to confiscate it for his own good now, says James. Thank you for that. So aside from that, aside from the bone dagger stuff, there's another reason involving Seth to go back to the inn, and that is he's been teased by the old voice that has been haunting Seth with that little pendant that he was given, that coin that won't leave him alone. No matter how much he discards that coin, it ends up back in his pocket. And equally, Seth has that the ring of alertness, which I keep forgetting to mention, but it goes off every time there's a combat encounter. You go, alert, danger, alert. Sorry, James, I keep forgetting about it, and but it's almost assumed now that that's what happened, so it's hard for him to hide, is basically the point of that. Anyway, he's been teased by the old voice to go back to the shrine underneath Flaming Jacks to not only to forgetting it is fine, of course it is, to not only remove the curse of this ring, but also to save his best friend Fleeting Look, who is currently cursed with lycanthropy, which is another major stumbling block at the moment for the party. So I think that in itself, although probably wise to be a bit distrustful of this powerful entity that can suddenly abduct Malar and send him to the plane of water, and then remove his memory of the event and have him in a puddle. It's probably not somebody you want to get on the wrong side of, if I was Seth anyway. Best friend, very loose term for Fleeting Look. Yes, well, I think Fleeting Look considers Seth his best friend and would probably do anything for him, but whether that is reciprocated is the jury's out. I think it's more of a begrudging friendship, but that's purely my speculation on those two. That's another compelling reason to go back to Flaming Jack. So it seems that will be the next place to go, I would predict, after Korak, but we'll see. We'll see what the players decide to do. It's, of course, up to them. And Seth will use that to save his life. That's nice. Lycanthropy is another big problem. And it's not just Fleeting Look who has that issue, because the two party guests they saved, Greta Grouse and Captain Julius Mandeville, also are suffering with lycanthropy and have kind of been left behind back outside of... I need to double check this, actually. I believe that they... that they have been dropped off outside of outside. It's been a little while, hasn't it? Have been dropped off outside of Hilberg along with the rest of the party, and obviously they'll need left them with the church. Yeah, I thought so. So they're kind of a ticking time bomb as well. Like, they need to be seen to and treated as best as possible. Being left at the church is very wise, as they discovered in in Heroes Landing. No, Heroes Landing. Yeah, it was Heroes Landing. Yes, in Heroes Landing, where they basically were given a blessing so that they would get advantage on their check overnight. So it's a wise thing to do in the meantime, but it's kind of a temporary solution to a problem that could permeate a lot longer. So they're going to have to do something about those two as well. There's obviously some speculation with that because the lycanthropy storyline with the werewolves at the banquet could be it's something that hasn't completely finished. That storyline continues after the banquets because, of course, the assassin that carried out the event, who is he working for? Who is he employed by? There's definitely been allusions to a few different organizations, but then the question still remains: who is he working for? Is he part of? Is he part of a guild? And even if he is part of a guild, is the guild responsible for it, or was the guild, in this case, the Guild of Many Masks, was it that they were employed by another party to carry out this thing? And if so, who? Those questions, and of course the questions about the cure curse potions, these very rare potions which the party just happened to be given one of by the councillor of Hilberg, Councillor Potter. So it's a real question there as to where that's going to go next. There is more to it, I can tell you that much, but we'll see what happens with that going forward. They're obviously their best guy for the job, Rexland Shortclaw, has gone back to the headquarters of the Order of the Broken Fang, who are the order who deal with these kind of abominations, these monstrous entities, these lycanthropes. They are the sort of the quintessential vampire hunters, monster hunter types. So they seem like the best people for the job, but now they're kind of out of action with Raxlan going back to the headquarters to report on what's happened at the banquet, and he's also taken in his charge the formidable half-orc Kajira Ironside to possibly have her become a newest member of the Order. Let's not forget, Fleeting Look is a lance of the Order himself. So he's just like the lowest rank of the Order, wanting to be something more, and perhaps he will be in the future. But certainly he hasn't got that experience with dealing with werewolves, and the fact that he now has the condition himself could cause some issues with the Order as well. So there's going to be some precarious situations with that going forward. We'll see how that develops. James has sent a message which has been held because he profaned. Sorry about that, James. Church has become our go-to off. This is bad, but something worse is happening. Leave them here. I guess it is, yeah. So it's some interesting times ahead in that regard for the group. They've got that to think about as well. There's also other things going on in the background. Let's not forget that Seth sent off ages ago that basilisk parts to be sent to his friend, to the captain of the ship he used to run with, which is stationed in Calas. He sent them to the captain there. I've completely forgotten his name. I really need to read that up again. The Tabaxi captain, I remember that much, that he's a Tabaxi, and that he's a formidable pirate captain, but also on good terms with Seth. Burns, thank you, Captain Burns. Yes, Captain Burns, who he sent those basilisk parts to, with the idea that they'll then transport those parts over to Isk to Seth's contact, the Cloaked Man, and then Seth should get paid from that as kind of a bounty he was given to hunt down this creature. So, and then possibly given another task after that. So we've got that going on, and that's being delivered by the half-orc bouncer and his new friend, the elven, the militaristic elven lady. And the message of come to us because I've still got his extra basilisk egg. Ah, yes, Seth is carrying a basilisk egg as well. So that's the message that's being carried out as well. The idea is that the half-orc and the elf will then get paid for the courier service, and then and then Seth will get paid for carrying out the contract. That's the arrangement with that. That's all ticking along as well. But as the revelation has been given to the party as they've realised that the gnome Jackburn Winklebottom is the one in possession of that bone sword, the one of the fingers. Who else may have learned that information from Royston? Did anyone else learn that information, or was it only the sort of familiar face of Seth and so on that has given that information away? So there's that to consider as well going forward. And one minor point as well is that Fleeting Look has placed an order for a hat to be made for Seth back at the shop in Hilberg. I've forgotten the name. The names are all over the place. I will scrub up on this, guys, so I'll be able to give the names properly and without any hesitation. But yeah, lots of little things for the party to pick up on, and I think they're well overdue now at hitting level 5 to have a little bit of downtime to kind of gather themselves up together and, of course, get some of the rewards for their heroic actions so far. So I would hope that once all this is wrapped up, and they still have that statue to unfreeze. I'm glad that Dan's paying attention as well. He's on today. Yes, there is the statue, the petrified form of Lady Helene Grenfell. Thank you for reminding me. I almost completely forgot to mention that. Which Malar was tasked with meeting up with Lady Helene for a philanthropic mission along the border between Rachir and Burikrin because of the kind of the war that's been happening between them. That's the Cold War that's now started to heat up. So they need to sort of deal with getting her back to normal as well. So there's quite a few things to be dealing with. There's the dwarf cult as well. Yes, the Midnight Runners or the Moon Runners. And what they're about, and yes, the party getting their own base of operations as a reward for their actions during the werewolf plot. So as you can see, quite a few plates spinning, and I really need to read up at some point and catch myself up on all of these things. But it's all there in the background, working away. I've got my head around it. It's just. Yeah, bit by bit, there's bits to work through. There's always something going on, it seems, in this world. But I think some downtime, even if it's for a few days, just for the characters just to kind of get themselves together. It's sounds like they've got plenty of things to be getting on with. But the task at hand, very much to defeat the Red Mages here at Corrick, find out what information they can, stop whatever their evil plan is, because clearly they've got an evil plan, it looks like that dagger is connected to it and they need to go get that dagger. That's going to be the next thing that they need to take care of. So that's main thing in the Manylands at the moment. Switching over now to what we've got coming up for Tales from the Sword Coast. So tomorrow we've got the concluding part. It was meant to be a one-shot. It's ended up being a two-shot, and that was primarily down to the technical difficulties I was having at this end with my previous setup, which actually I can show you now if you like. So originally, I was streaming through this laptop here. It's an Asus. It performed very ably. It's a very good laptop. However, it is about 5 years old, and it is not up to the task of taking 7 different inputs from players, streaming it, and all that. It just couldn't do it. And so now I have upgraded to a desktop, which makes things all so much smoother now. So during the time off, that was essentially what I was doing at this end, was upgrading the tech. There were many reasons for it. The stream and the campaign was definitely a factor. There were other factors, though. I have to justify this to myself as well. There were many reasons why I needed to do that, but that was definitely one of them. And so the problem with Tales from the Sword Coast with the Amphail Assassin one shot was that it just wouldn't work taking in all those inputs. So you'll see if you've watched it on YouTube that the video just freezes for ages because it just couldn't cope. We were still getting audio throughout. There was even at times some issues with the audio as well, and it's really because the computer just couldn't hack it. The CPU was getting maxed out, the disk was full. It was taking everything for the to get that stream to work. So that slowed things down massively. It was meant to be a one-shot, and hence it's now become a two-shot. So we'll be wrapping that up tomorrow. We've got, unfortunately, a couple of the players can't make it, so we're down to, I think, 5 players. But even so, even with 5, works perfectly fine for me. So I'm happy to proceed with it, and we'll see how it goes with that. But in that adventure so far, for those of you who haven't seen the first part, and I obviously suggest you do so, but if you haven't, basically these adventurers have for many reasons come to Amphail to investigate this latest assassination attempt on the Lord there, Lord Ophid. The assassination was foiled and the assassin killed, but apparently this is just a sign of things to come, and apparently the wardens, a group of wood elves who live out in the nearby forest, are looking to basically have beef with Lord Ophid and looking to kill him, and will not stop until they succeed. And so essentially the adventurers have been called in to find more proof to convince the major factions, that being the Lord's Alliance and the Order of the Gauntlet, because this is based in the Sword Coast, those two factions in particular, to bring some forces out, bring some reinforcements, and go into the forest and track down the wardens, because the village of Amphail does not have the biggest garrison, and so they do not have the forces to spare to send into the forest looking to fight the wardens, whilst also maintaining order within the village. It's just not going to happen. So that's what the adventurers have been employed to do. However, it does appear that other things have been happening, and not everything is not as it seems. The party have found various items. They found the Lord Ophid's bedroom, where supposedly the attempt took place. Some very strange things. They found a gold ornament had been thrown out of the window, which suggests that the window was smashed from the inside rather than somebody coming in, as their story supposedly has been told, that they came inside through the window to try and assassinate them. Apparently that's not the case, so it seems. They've also found, I'm going to have to catch myself up on the notes ahead of tomorrow, but they have also been inquiring in the village. They went to the nearby temple to sort of have an autopsy of the body of the assassin. The assassin was actually one of the local tradespeople, a very friendly glassblower elven lady, who apparently gets on with everyone in the village, and seems very out of character for her to be not only allied with the wardens, but the fact that she's then made an attempt at the life of the lord of the village seems very out of character, very strange behaviour, not something you'd expect them to do. So alarm bells there. Equally, they found the pendant that she was carrying. Although it was the warden's symbol, it was made out of metal, which in itself is a little bit strange, being that the wardens are more druidic in that respect. They would make their pendants out of wood or other natural materials. They wouldn't have the resource to craft these metal pendants. That seems very strange in of itself as well. There are others in the village who are also suspicious that this isn't the case. One that they are just talking to now was a friend and colleague, a hunter and trader by the name of Todd Bindwood, a forest gnome who trades in the village. Some of you may recognize that name. Equally, there's also an adventurer named Luna, who some of the party already know through their backstory, who is looking for another ex-adventurer friend of hers named I can't say because she hasn't said the name. Oh, Cass, that was it. Did say the name. Yes, Dan, it is that Todd. He does feature in the game because I can't not put him in. So yeah. So some PCs die hard or don't die at all, and you just keep bringing them back. I think Todd is one of them for me. So yeah, they've so Luna is looking for her sort of on-off lover and adventurer friend Cass, who apparently supposedly died some time ago on an adventure with Luna, or at least went missing. But apparently he has been spotted in the area, and so Luna is looking to find him. It also appears, also speaking of romance, that the deceased Janae, the elf, who seems to be who's been framed, it seems, as the assassin, was also looking for. Had been visited by a mystery lover of recent times, and it seems that Todd fancied himself as possibly something more with Janae, although that never transpired. In fact, there was another man in her life apparently, although we don't know more about who that is just yet. So there's that, and there's also some other fun, interesting characters that the party have come across, including a street performer wizard by the name of Carapticus, who's got this strange blue skin, this kind of white short back and sides hair, who seems like very jovial, very jolly, and also very much open to being bought. It seems to perform whenever he can, whenever he gets paid. So he's been tasked with heading over to the second inn by some other party to go and... Well, I think they really sent him off because they wanted to have a laugh, and they thought it would cause trouble, and also would see him get beaten up, which, you know, that's a motivation, I suppose. But sending him over to the other inn, which the party have yet to visit, although some of them know the owner there, Garrett Tealeaf, quite well, and in fact owe him some money, which is why they're involved in this investigation, because there is a cash reward for any information they find. So they're going to settle those bar tabs with Garrett Tealeaf, hopefully, through this investigation. So there's still so how we've left things beginning next time is that Todd has told the party to come and meet him in the back room of the alchemist shop, the alchemy shop called Alchemical, which is owned by quite an eccentric tiefling by the name of Salazar. So they're meeting him in the back room as he has vital information pertaining to the case. So we'll see what he has to reveal to the party tomorrow. So come join me for that. That's 2 p.m. here on the channel. Myself, it's going to be a different group of adventurers from the usual Monday game, because most of these players, in fact, I think all of them tomorrow, are players in the Tales from the Sword Coast campaign. Now, the main campaign for that, which Angelique will be DMing, will be coming to the channel. It won't be in 2 weeks' time, however. It will be, it's looking like it will be, sorry, not 2 weeks' time. It won't be in a week's time. It'll be in 3 weeks' time, I believe, but I will keep you updated on when that actually will take place. Just a few kind of extra things that we're working on in the background for that. And we're also trying to bring it to the stream at a convenient time in the story, because at the moment they're kind of halfway through an adventure, and it wouldn't feel like a natural time for you guys to kind of come on board and start enjoying that campaign, because you won't have got the information going into it. So it'd be kind of like coming into a book by reading from the middle. It would be very confusing. So we're hoping to find a good starting point for streaming. So hopefully that will be in 3 weeks' time, but I will keep you posted on when that will be. Safe to say, some exciting stuff there. I really look forward to sharing it with you guys, and I'm sure the other players do as well. More content for the channel. Speaking of more content, also on Saturdays, although I shouldn't be promoting it too much because it does conflict with programming here on the channel, just a shout out to Marshall, who's one of our regular players on the Manylands game, because he's DMing his own streamed campaign of the Lost Mines of Fendelver on his own channel, which is Marshall Mowbray. You can find that just typing in his name on Twitch, you'll find it. I'm also hosting it here on the channel as well. So when we're not streaming live, we should be hosting his campaign. That's also on Saturdays. That's the reason why I don't want to promote it too much, because it does conflict with our own game here. But fortunately, our Saturday stream is every other Saturday. So after this one-shot one, we would have our Tales from the Sword Coast slot, our regular slots, but that's not going to be on. So for the next couple of weeks at least, we'll be sharing Marshall's Lost Lands of Phandelver campaign here on the channel, which I definitely recommend you watch when we haven't got anything else here. So keep it here so you can watch his stuff. And with his own friends, an intrepid group of adventurers, very colourful cast of characters. I tuned in a bit myself, and it looks like good fun. Check it out. So there's plenty of good content to keep you entertained during lockdown, during these unprecedented strange times, and during whatever else is going on in the world at the moment, just to get that escapism. Slice and Dice has you covered. Thank you for tuning in. Come join me, as I said, tomorrow from 2 p.m, where we will continue and conclude the Amphail Assassin adventure. I'm psyched. Hope you are. And anyway, if I don't see you then, have a great weekend, and we'll speak again soon.